Good afternoon, everyone. Jackie, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Gary.
Great. Well, I know we've got a couple of hundred of you online, so we'll get started straight away. Welcome to this first meeting. I'm sorry it's under such difficult circumstances, but what I wanted to do was make sure that we remain in contact with you all and tell you a little bit about what we know and see if we can help in any way with what you're going through, and also to tell you what ICB is doing generally to try and smooth the waters down a little bit. This is the first meeting. We should have 5 of them this week, 1 every day. Stick to this time unless people start thinking that it's better in the morning or whenever. And we're going to have a different range of people talking to us, including some of the software companies. Julia Wedgwood, we hope, is coming on tomorrow. She may actually be on today, and I can bring her on because I know one of the big queries we've been getting is how do we work with people who are only desk-based, and is there anything we can do? And most of that is Sage. But first of all, obviously, these are very difficult times. We're all learning as we go along, and government seems to be taking huge, unprecedented steps to try and get this sorted. They're never quite going to please everybody all of the time, but we are working with whatever contacts still remain open to us in government to try and make sure that we cover bookkeepers. We and they realise how important you are to the economy, but obviously the first thing is that we need to make sure that you all stay at home, look after your family, make sure you stay safe and well, because whatever happens, we want to get through this and we want you to get through this. And I know that talking to many of you on the phones already, some of you are in a bit of a panic. You're self-employed, you deal with mainly self-employed clients, and that tends to be, I think, the biggest concern at the moment. We have continued to lobby government as much as we can at these times to see if they'll do more for self-employed people. The assurances I've been getting is that they're trying their hardest. They're going to try and figure out a way to do something different. I don't know. It could be today that they announce something. It could be over the next 24 hours or 48 hours. I'm not party to such things, but I think they have an understanding of your additional problems, and I think they're going to try to sort something out. It has been mentioned in the media that possibly they'll do something based on your last year's tax return or something like that. But it's a little bit more difficult than PAYE records that are obviously easier to work with. So we've got more than 300 of you on today, all in all, across various channels. And we've decided to make this one a webinar, which is one where you can send me questions or Jackie questions. Jacquie Mount will be with me very shortly. And if you'd like to do that, please continue to send your questions. If we answer it as part of our chat, then we'll probably ignore that. But if we can look at the questions as they come in a while, we'll be able to answer if we can, or if not, point you to somebody else or somewhere else to find an answer. We were going to have a Zoom meeting, but we thought with so many people being involved that it could become a bit of a nightmare. So we're doing this. The second reason is that we can actually tape this or copy it, so it will be going out later, so that those people who couldn't get hold of, couldn't get us at this time or were not available, will be able to pick this up later. It's also streaming live on our Facebook page, I've just been reminded. So those of you who've got our Facebook page or some of the other Facebook pages from our branches, they will be available. One of the big messages that's coming across from some of the smaller businesses that I've been talking to, some of your clients, some just general small businesses, don't leave us alone. We need your help. We know you're struggling. We know you're having difficulties of your own, but we rely heavily on our bookkeepers. We rely heavily on you for information. So please stick with us. And my message to you as bookkeepers is what it's always been, really: communicate. The best thing that we do as bookkeepers is we communicate on a regular basis with our clients. And I know some of you now have got kids at home, partners at home, you're not used to it. And it's not always the easiest for you to work when everybody's under your feet. But look, it's all about hanging on to those clients. It's all about helping them out. And I noticed one lady this morning on one of the forums was saying, I can't get my work done because I keep getting calls from all my clients worried and they all want my advice. That's what we're here for. This is part of what we do. Please, please, please don't give up on your clients. And if you find that this is all getting too much for you, or you need to do work, you've got too much work, fall back on your COPE, your continuation practice plans, if you have them. And this is another good reason why you should have them. If you've got pals, you've got groups, you've got buddies that you can work with, you might be able to share that load. So as far as ICB is concerned, first of all, we have closed the office, but we have all literally unplugged our phones, taken them home, plugged them into our own routers, and we're sitting there with our phones. They are ringing as normal, and we are there at normal office hours. And we're ready to take calls, to give you guidance, help, assistance, or whatever you need to do, we are there. So when you telephone, it's the normal number, 0203 405 4000. It'll be answered by somebody. We pick them up at random when the phone rings. But if you want to speak to somebody else, we can still transfer people, just as if we were sitting next to each other in the office. And if you need help from one of our external advisors, again, we can just send that out to them. You will notice no difference at all. All emails are being answered, and you are sending hundreds on an hourly basis. So, but we are there, and we're going to be sending you as much of those as we possibly can. I think the service, if anything, is going to be faster than ever, because we, like you, are trying very hard to look after our customers. So that's the main thing about the phones. If you need something, you don't have to remember another number. You won't get any answer phone service, and you won't get somebody telling you ring back in 3 months when we've come out of hiding. All mock and exam papers are available, again, as if, unfortunately, as if nothing had happened. The M8 examination, which is normally a centre-based exam, we've had to do something different with that because the centres have closed, and we don't want you having to go out to centres. So there will be a home-based version of this available. We have set up a proctoring system, which means that you will log on to Rogo to do your exam, but also to a proctoring service, which will watch and make sure that it's you that's doing your exam. Please remember, therefore, not to do it in your bunny slippers and your pajamas, but that will be available from next Wednesday, we believe. We're sort of making everything work at the moment, and we've had some pretty good test runs with it so far, so that's been integrated into our Rogo exam system. So if you want to do an exam at the moment, contact your training provider in the normal manner, or if you are self-study, then you contact the Institute again in the normal manner, and that will all be sorted out. Now, at the moment, we've got lots and lots of people wanting to do exams that we haven't heard of for years and years and years, and they've suddenly decided that now is the time when they want to get back onto their study path. For a lot of members, we're finding that they're taking this as the opportunity to come up to the next level. So they're doing a bit of study, and they want to do that, or taking payroll, self-assessment tax, or whatever it might be. So that's all, it's all there for you. That won't add to your woes of the moment. So stick with that. The textbooks, incidentally, also are available. Now, they rely on the postal service, so as long as we are able to post out the books, they will be available to you. And Polly from our team, who is handling these, has rung up recently and said to me that the books are flying off the shelf at the moment. So if you need a look, please let us know. We've got them again covering all aspects of our syllabus. We have a COVID-19 hub on the website. it's under resources, and that is what is being issued to us by HMRC or by government. Most of it you will probably already have heard or seen somewhere else, because we're giving you the central line. However, in addition to that, what we are doing is adding bits to it when we know them, or giving you some specific advice. So it's a good resource to go to. What else have we got? The helplines all still remain open, all accessible again on our main telephone line. So that's the technical support line, the legal support line, and the anti-money laundering support line. Those three still available, still free, all yours, but you just ring the normal number and we'll put it through. We are getting a much larger demand at the moment, as you would expect, but we are fully equipped to cope with everything so far, and we intend to continue to provide that service. If for any reason there is a clash with lots of people wanting the same person to answer their questions, we can then actually call you back. So one way or another, we'll get you the information as quickly as we can. We have decided, obviously, to cancel all branch meetings. I know a lot of you rely on your branch meetings. It's your chance to get out of your house, get out of your office and meet some other people with your experiences and your challenges in life. And obviously, we don't want to deprive you of that at this time. So as of this week, all branch meetings have gone virtual. Again, Zoom, and we will tell you how to log on to that if you want to go to a virtual meeting. We've had 3 test runs so far. That was kicked off in Cardiff for South Wales, then in Oxfordshire and in North Yorkshire. Now, they were very, very successful, and across the board, we've had members coming along who have not normally been to branch meetings. 1 or 2 there were disabled and found that the virtual meeting was much better for them, so that was a bonus. Now, the idea of the branch meetings is, to begin with, this will be very much a social meeting where you can chat to other people, you can share your wins and your losses as far as COVID or everything else is concerned. But as we believe this is probably going to be a long-term problem for the country, we will be building up a proper program of events throughout the year. And the other thing that I'm very pleased about is that although we have a very tight and a very expansive branch chair network of over 38, I think it is at the moment, meeting regularly, we are, by the end of this week, possibly early part of next, going to have a branch for every single county in the country. And we will do this so that you can have a meetup with your local people, rather than us here, coming to us here where we're talking to, well, actually it's gone over 450 now, 450 of you, and you don't really get your chance for a say. Whereas if you can have a local meeting in Staffordshire or Shropshire or Oxfordshire or wherever it might be, you get more of a chance for a say. You get more of a friendly feel. And by having a Zoom meeting, you can actually see a photograph of everybody at the same time, so that you know who you're talking to and what it's all about. So that's all been done. We won't charge for any branch meetings. I know we normally make a charge of £5 or £7, but that's to cover our costs. As we're moving forward with virtual, we're going to swallow all the costs in head office. Sorry, I'm just going to take a quick swig of water. I've got a coffee here, don't worry. Got water when I've been talking too long. We have had to cancel the Inspire Tour. The Inspire Tour was due across dates in June. We will instead be running a virtual tour. Now, we're working on this at the moment, and I think what we'll probably do is bring that forward. April, possibly, May, definitely, and spread it out over a couple of days. And we will be bringing in speakers. Now, the thing at the moment is everybody is so busy doing everything else, getting speakers that have the time is proving difficult, but certainly we're already lining up people, like, for example, Ian Holloway, that was very well received at Summit last year when he spoke to you about payroll. And obviously Jacquie, who when I take a breath in a minute, I'll pass you over to Jackie. She's always available and she'll be doing some work with us. But it does mean that we want to, rather than have just another extension of a branch meeting, we want to have more serious topics, which will build up to what we think is going to be quite a major program under, I think we're calling it Inspire Live at the moment, but I'm not sure if that will stick. So the summit, at the moment, we're planning to go ahead with the summit. We've already paid a deposit and that stands at the moment, but that is, some of you will come on the Sunday. That will be Sunday the 15th of November, followed by Monday the 16th and Tuesday the 17th of November. This year we've moved venue again in order to get those dates, and we're going to the Hammersmith Novotel. Those of you who know the Novotel or Hammersmith will know that it's a major conference section and it's centre, and it's right next to the hotel, but it is separate. It's all mainly on one floor, so we will be having the normal auditorium, but around that will be the stands, and we'll have various theatres off the stands and various things. So I think it's going to be a really good conference and build up to next year's, which will be our 25th and even bigger still. So I think what we need to do really now is talk about some of the questions that we're getting. And just before I hand over to Jackie to talk about probably the things that you want to know about most, I'm getting a lot of inquiries from people at the moment who are saying, look, I've got this person, they realize they're in a bit of trouble, they need my help, they're a brand new customer, how do I do my due diligence? And what I said in the newsletter, and what I'll say again, is you can't not do due diligence, but I appreciate that you can't go along and see people, and you can't feel how the business is or anything else. So we have to be realistic, look at what is available to us, and do whatever we can. And once this all dies down, whenever that might be, we then get perhaps the physical evidence that we were not able to get during these more difficult times when we are hidden away in our offices or homes. And it's important that you somehow do whatever you can to make sure that the person you're dealing with is the person that's running that business, and you get a good feel for the business. You can do this by questioning. You can do this by asking them to photograph their passport, for example, and send you a copy of that. Preferably putting it up by the side of their face, take a selfie and send that to you. That's good enough for now. It has to be. I must admit, Opbas are being really difficult with us at the moment. They're telling us we've got to carry on as if nothing has happened. Steve Hardwick is having regular, what can I call it, communications with them. But at the moment, he's told them to buzz off in the nicest possible way. We do have to make sure that we don't do silly things and people do not slip onto the wire because they come in under the guise of businesses having difficulty because of COVID. But apart from that, that should be fine. And as far as the risk assessment is concerned, again, you can rely on the web, you can Google people, you can do all that sort of stuff. If you're not happy about it, then I'm afraid you have to say, look, sorry, I can't help you. But I think in most cases, these will be people who are desperate and need some help. And in fact, one of the big things that our members have been telling me, certainly this week, is they're getting a lot of companies coming either to them or back to them who decided to go it alone, got their own software, but actually the fun has now disappeared out of that and they don't know what they're doing and they need help. And I think the other thing, when times get really bad, and we're all in the same boat, you have to remember that one day we're going to come out of this and everybody is still going to need to sell things, to make things, and they're going to need their books done. And if we can make sure that we are there when that happens, because if you imagine what a mess their accounts were in originally before you took them on, what do you think it's going to be like now when they've got grants and they've got subsidies and various other things going on there, and they've got catch-ups and they've got loans that they've got to pay back? I think it's going to be a bit of a nightmare. It's what we do best. We look after people. We sort things out. We don't make mountains out of molehills. And I think, we'll come into our own eventually. Now, Jacquie Mount, as you know, is our head of technical advice as far as we're concerned here at the ICB. She's been there, done that. She's been in practice. She's retired a couple of times and come back, thankfully. And she's now sitting out in the middle of Kent somewhere, enjoying her latest retirement, but at the same time still always there for us and for ICB. She's one of the old stalwarts, if I can call her that. Not so old, but stalwarts of ICB. And she's always good there with the information. Hi, Jacquie, I can see you there in your nice pine-clad studio in the garden, by the look of it.
Yes, I am. I'm sitting in my garden, hence the high neck sweater, because it's not warm enough yet to go into something.
Right. I'd like to start. We've got some questions coming in, but I'd like to start with some of the basic ones that you and I have already talked about, and I've asked you a few questions. The first one, I think, was about the 80% subsidy for employees.
Yeah.
And we've all seen what it means, but can you give us a bit more background on where we're going with that one?
Yes, this actually answers quite a lot of questions that are coming up at the moment. Basically, the retention policy, the more you read it, you realise it's not quite as obvious as you look. Paying the 80% of wages is 80% of gross pay. Sorry, before I start this, I should say that on the gov.uk website, there is a COVID-19 page which has quite a lot of information on, which for once in its life is very readable and understandable. And I'm sure we can get some links out to that. Also, if you want daily updates as well, I subscribe to some of the HMRC news releases that come in. Be very careful what you click on though, because you'll get thousands of them. So you have to be quite selective, but you can get some daily information on that.
Are you going to be sharing that on our hub?
Yes, I will speak to, yes.
I think it's probably better if there's a central site.
Yeah, we'll get some information up for you. The other thing I want to say before I start is that a lot of the information that we're going through and I'm hoping to give you today, I may have to come back and confirm, because some of the questions that are coming in are asking questions to which I have not yet found an answer. So let's quickly go through them. The 80% wages is for staff that businesses put on furlough. So it's not for staff that are working, it's only for those staff who you would otherwise say make redundant, and you keep them on and pay them their salary and then claim back 80% of their gross salary through what is going to be an HMRC portal. It's a new portal which is still being designed. And how I think it will work is that you will pay your wages as normal, do your RTI, and one question that did ask is, yes, pension contributions are still due. The pensions regulator confirmed that in an email today. You do still have to keep up with your employer's pension rules. So as far as I can see, you pay your wages as normal. If you are going to reduce wages, then that's a decision. Up to 80% of what you pay your staff of their wages can be reclaimed. Whether that is 80% of their February wages, and if you then want to pay them less this time, you can claim up to 80%. I'm still trying to get confirmation of that. So let me go down. The other query that's come up is about employees who started after the 28th of February. This is backdated to the 1st of March, but we don't yet know, because I think the wage is based on the February pay as to what's going to happen for employers who start after the 28th. So I think we're going to have to come back to you on that one. Maybe the next, I've got a note of that one. Zero contract hours, again, I think it's going to be based on February pay, but I've got a note and we'll try and come back on that one as well.
And I think you said something about if people reduce the salary, it's 80% of the reduced salary.
I think so, but I read something today that it may still be 80% of their February salary, but only up to, so for example, if you're paying someone 80%, you can claim back 80% of what their wage is up to the 2,500. but it's not been confirmed about that. And again, it's one of these confusing things that we're going to have to hopefully do some more research and come back at the next one and answer that question. I've got that down. Indications as to how long it will take to reimburse the employer. The answer is, I don't know how long it's going to take. The portal for reclaiming is due to go up, I think, by the 1st of April. So when you pay your March wages, you should be able to log on to the portal and make a reclaim. Hopefully not too long. That then follows on to what happens because you've got to pay your wages before you can claim it back. That's where the business interruption loan may have to come in. And there is a question on the business interruption loan that's come in that says what happens if you can't pay it. Now, the 80% guarantee on that is from the government to the banks, not to the individuals. So the individuals that take out the loan have to repay it. So it's only if they cannot repay that loan at some stage and hence have to go into something awful like bankruptcy that the banks will step in and reimburse, sorry, the government will step in and reimburse the banks for 80% of the loans that they've given. 0 hours contract, I do need to do a little bit more information and come back to you. There's a question about wording for the employees to give employees re-layoff and furlough. I think at the moment, the only thing I've seen on that is to have some form of dialogue with your workers and let them know that you're doing it. But I haven't seen an actual written thing, but we'll make a note of that wording.
We did have a conversation with some people from HMRC this week, and basically everything that's been announced by the government is completely open book because it's never been there before. All of the systems are wrong. They don't suit this new way of doing things. So I think the staff there are doing a mammoth task at the moment to try and get it available to you. And the other thing I didn't realize was that the government doesn't have the authority as government to just do what it wants. And it is putting legislation through. I think some of it's going through today and various other things. For example, they can't just close the airports, apparently. You know, they have to go back to government for that. I suppose it's to stop them becoming dictators. But it does seem very odd that in these times they want to give this money away, but first they have to get government, they have to get it passed in the House of Commons. But so I think bear with them. It doesn't help when you're running short of cash, but it is coming, and I think they're really, really bending over backwards to get this done.
One question coming in, is there any information on whether the minimum wage will still increase at the start of April as planned? I haven't seen anything to say that it's been cancelled. So I would assume at the moment that yes, the minimum wage increase goes through. That's if anybody obviously is still out there, but I'm not sure how the 80% of the wage, because it's based on the February wage. So we'll have to come back with some more information on that. So I'll put minimum wage on my list.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the one you've answered, Jackie, but we've got Kirsty who's just sent us a question saying, I've got a client who's got an employee taken on with the last 2 weeks. Will they be eligible to be classed as a furloughed worker? I think you're basically saying we don't think so at the moment. That will need another announcement before that happens. Is that right?
I think so. I think it's going to be watch the space on that one. There's a couple of questions just come in about directors of limited companies, and I know that will affect a number of our members who operate as a limited company. This is a difficult one because the only way you can claim your own wage back is if you are not working. If you are still carrying on operating and working, then you can't claim the 80% because you have to stipulate that if you put a worker on furlough, including yourself, you cannot work. So that's a catch-22 situation, that one. Whether they'll come up with some more information. I think it applies to everyone who is on a wage through the PAYE system. So there is one that says, will directors be able to claim wages if they cannot run their business, i.e. pub, cafe, etc. If they're on PAYE, then yes, I think they should be able to. Update on help for charities. Haven't seen anything since Friday. excuse me, charities are, if you have paid staff in a charity, that applies as well. If you have to put them on furlough, you can claim 80% of their wages back, but that's all I've heard. The VAT periods that stop earlier, I think we've had a couple of questions on this with the VAT payment due on the 7th of April. The only information I've heard is that it's the VAT quarter up to the end of March that doesn't need to be paid in July. I haven't seen anything yet, but I will do some research on that one. Is there any?
And I think one of the questions came, Jackie, was if you're on VAT, the clients are on VAT, do you still submit the forms knowing that you can't pay it, or you're not going to be required to pay it?
My rule, my idea as I read it, is that you will still have to submit the return, because they haven't said don't submit your return, because they need, the government will still need to know what it's expecting to get or not get on its VAT. It's just the payment that's been deferred till June. And I also, slightly contradictory information on this one, but I also did hear when the Chancellor announced that, he was talking about giving people to the end of the current tax year to pay that missing VAT bill. But I haven't actually seen that in writing, so I'm not sure what's happening about that one.
So that's a deferment rather than a cancellation?
Yes. Yes, so I think I would work on the basis at the moment that the returns still have to be done, which might mean that you'll need to contact your clients and say, look, we still got to do the return. Your returns have still got to be submitted. It's just the payment that's been deferred. The direct debits, I haven't seen anything about whether what's happening with the direct debits. Direct debits are obviously where HMRC will take the money, but they've said they're not taking it, so they shouldn't take anything from you. My gut reaction is, from somebody who I knew who did cancel a direct debit, if you cancel it and try and set it back up again, that might cause an issue. Returns and rebates. Sorry, I was just going to say returns and rebates. Sorry, Garry.
The information we've had, I'm not necessarily saying it's completely true, but is that you keep the direct debit open, but the government has said it will not request the money. Yeah. Obviously, if it does, then we sort that out as it comes.
My gut reaction to that one was, if you cancel it, you might have problems getting it set up, and there may be a delay when you try to get it set up again. Help for charities, I think I've answered now. VAT quarters and April VAT dates. Corporation tax, haven't heard anything on corporation tax yet, on deferments for corporation tax. I need to look that up. I've got it on my list to see if I can find. Oh, Sylvia, thank you. Just come back to, definitely says on HMRC deferred to the end of the tax year.
Okay.
So that's that one. Do we cancel the direct debit? The answer, I think, is no. Sue, yes, the wages is 80% of gross wages. Definitely, that is on the HMRC's website.
Okay.
And someone's come up. I believe it's up to the employer whether they make the employees pay up to 100%. How will the wages be processed if they choose not to make up 100%? I have a funny feeling that working out how this is going to come, I think when the software people come on to talk to you, I think they're probably going to have more knowledge about this, because I know Julia is going to talk to you at some stage. Hopefully the software companies will have some ideas on how that is going to work, because obviously they're frantically looking at their software at the moment. And I'm afraid I'm going to defer that one to a software person.
I think Julia's on the line, but I think she's only listening. I'm not a Julia.
Yeah, she's not a panelist, I don't think.
Not a panelist, no. We'll get her set up so that when you finish, Jackie, we'll try and get her on. We've got the other software companies coming in as well, but today it's Julia, as I know. I've got a number of questions. One from Catherine Colton here about what do I do about a client that can't use online stuff, and he wants to stick stage, obviously. But we'll try and answer that in a second as soon as we can get Julia online. Julia, if you're there, if you ring the office, and we'll make sure that we can put you on. Thank you. Carry on, Jackie.
Somebody else, Anna's coming with, so the can is applied to directors' wages, and this is up to $2,500 a month. both of those I think are yes, depending on certain circumstances. A lot of information there to do with limited companies and the wages, but also a lot of our members are self-employed and doing self-assessment returns. At the moment, the self-employed are only able to claim employment support allowance and or universal credit, which is obviously nowhere near as much as they're getting at the moment. We're waiting to hear if there is any more assistance for the self-employed. Obviously, HMRC know what your income was last year from the last self-assessment tax return. So watch this space, I think. Let's see if there's anything else I need to answer.
While you're having a think about that, Jacquie, try to give you a bit of a rest, but please stay with us.
Yeah.
Julia, I think you're on the line there.
I am. Can you hear me?
I can, but it's a bit crackly. I don't know what you're standing next to.
Dear. Oh, should be fine.
Yeah, it sounds like the Mars bar rapper to me. Anyway.
Sorry.
Right. I understand that we're getting a lot of queries from our members. I've certainly had some where they haven't managed to switch their clients onto cloud yet. So some people want our members to go in every week, sit at the desk so they know they're there, and they time them in, they time them out, and they use desktop still. Obviously, we're presuming it will be Sage because the majority of our members learn on Sage, work on Sage, and that's how it's always been. What can you offer them, first of all? I know you're doing a webinar later in the week, so I'm happy for you to tell them when that is. But what can you tell us today that you're doing in Sage to help them do this?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Delighted to be sitting with everyone, virtually feeling the love in these testing circumstances. Sage, we've set up a hub that's got all of the information that any business using Sage, be it our desktop, which is cloud connected, or our native cloud software. If someone wants to use the software, that they are able to do it on most recent versions of Sage using functionality in the accounts package called Sage Drive. That allows you to connect to the data, which is pushed to the cloud from anywhere. You just need to have the software installed, and there's full instructions on how to do that through the hub. We've been running live Q&A for some time. We've got a dedicated live Q&A for bookkeepers and accountants. So if you need a real-time access, our telephone lines are still open. Different lines are some busier than others. For example, payroll's extremely busy. The link that you can get to from the hub, which will share across the delegates, get you immediate access. We're getting lots of questions about payroll. How do I set up Sage Drive to work remotely if I'm a business using it? So, for example, your business is one of your clients has got their own copy of Sage, you can get access to that using Sage Drive. So they don't need to be forced to go into a physical location. We will be running some webinars as well. So my recommendation to everyone, first, get that link in on the COVID hub. You can get to it from sage.com. When you go onto sage.com now, the first thing you'll see is getting the information about COVID. It's also got all the links to the generic websites as well as information about Sage. And join me on Thursday, where I'll have an expert on hand as well as myself to answer any questions. And if I don't know, I'll link straight into our live Q&A that's running.
Okay, thank you, Julia. I mean, obviously, one of the big problems is at the moment that people haven't made this decision up until now to go cloud. We have to find some sort of way of doing this. A couple of our members have been a bit concerned that it's just a question of pay your money and we'll get the service. What can you do for our members who are already perhaps struggling a bit with small clients who are also struggling, so that this isn't just going to be, well, you know, we can't afford to pay anything else at the moment. Is there an offer for them?
If they're already a subscribing member and they're having challenges with a subscription, is that what you said?
This is just going to be. Sorry, that's something going on in the background.
All right, can you hear me okay? So if
Mrs. C, can't get the staff now.
so if clients are paying for the subscription or practices and are struggling, please get in touch. We haven't got an official steer, but my recommendation, the software doesn't turn off automatically, so please do get in touch if there's any problems there. And at the moment we're dealing with the cases on a one-on-one basis because this is, you know, a new situation.
Yeah.
If someone wanted to move from Sage 50 to the cloud, we can make arrangements for that. And again, I would say where you want to do that, please get in touch and we'll make the necessary arrangements. We normally offer the migration service. It is free through the partner edition, which people can access free.
Okay. Well, look, thank you for that. We'll be putting up on our website a link to your slightly larger description of what's going on, etc. Sorry to put you on the spot there as far as the cash is concerned. But, you know, everybody's looking at everything at the moment. And we really need just to make sure that everybody's there. As our Luca winner, as personality of the year, what year before last, I think, you know, it was great of you to come on and talk to us. Thank you very much for that. And we will send you any other questions that come up later. Perhaps we can send them on to you, or by all means, stay on and see how things are going. I've got a query now here. By the way, I'm sitting here in my tie and all very dressed up as if I'm in the office. And I've just had a query here saying, you know, why do you look as if, are you going out somewhere? No, I'm not. I'm doing this actually a number of reasons. Obviously, I always wear this other than when I'm in bed. But secondly, because we had a meeting with our branch chairs earlier this week, and I have to say our branch chairs are brilliant. They've all rallied round. They're all going to help. They're all going to rally their people around. They're going to do as much as they can. And one of those branch chairs, Sylvia Borhill, looked at the fact that I was sitting there with an open neck blue shirt and said, "Are you in your pajamas?" Or something. Actually, what she said was, "You must remember when you're doing webinars, not to look as if you're sitting in your pajamas." And I mention that because she's just sent through an inquiry. My understanding is that the 80% is for furloughed staff. How do you tell your employees that they are being furloughed, and how do you prove it to HMRC? Now, I think Jackie can probably help you with this, but I understand that you have to have something in your contract to say that you can lay staff off. Jackie, I don't know if you've got anything a little bit more technical about that. Jackie?
Sorry, I muted my phone because I was coughing, you know, doing a non-coronavirus cough. Furloughed
It's
staff.
very handy to have a tab where you can mute, Jackie. That's very good.
Thank you, Gary.
Who's been asking for one for me for years? But anyway, never mind. Did you get my question?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
How do you prove that they're being furloughed? Well, first of all, I'm going to have to say that I think a lot of people are going to try and wangle the system and, you know, just not play the game properly. There will be a completely separate portal, as I said, on the HMRC that you report your staff as furloughed and then you claim the money back. Now, at some stage, that is probably going to have to be linked across to the RTI system from the wages so that they can check what you're actually paying your staff and what you're claiming back. Because if they're not linked, and hopefully HMRC will do some joined ups talking on this one, if they're not linked, how do they know that you're only claiming back 80% of the wages? So there's an awful lot of work still to be done on that. I think you've got to go through some legal form of discussion with them. There have been some comments on the chat line, apart from the questions, about the differences between layoffs and furloughs and looking into what you can legally do. if we just take the fact that there will be some form of legal contract that you have to have in place with them to agree that you're actually going to put them on furlough, which basically means that you're not making them redundant, or you're not sacking them or laying them off. You are keeping them on your employee list and paying them to keep them employed so that they don't have to go on benefits. I think that's basically what they're doing. How you prove it remains to be seen. Whether you'd have to actually submit a letter or something and upload, I'm not sure, because again, until we see what the portal is going to be, I'm not sure what evidence you're going to need to provide.
Okay. I mean, as I say, I understood that you have to have it in a person's contract that they might be laid off at any time. I mean, I know that I've seen a lot of these contracts that is automatically built into. I'm just wondering, it's not the sort of thing one automatically thinks of and may not have put into a contract. It'll be interesting to see whether government bends the rules a little bit on for employers to be able to say that laying off is just, this is a national disaster, so you can lay people off when you just can't afford to pay them, and you want to retain them. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one. I mean, a lot of what we're doing at the moment is seeing what's coming out, but then making our own estimate of what it all means and our own interpretation of things. And obviously, on a daily basis, the Prime Minister and two of his advisors stand up in front of everybody and give us the latest. We're expecting some things today about social distancing, or the lack of it at the moment, and what they're going to do about that. I'm not sure what else we'll get, but obviously as and when these things happen, we'll get them up on the hub, we'll talk about it at our next meeting, etc. So please bear with us. And if any of you have got a mate inside HMRC who's still chained to his or her desk but has got some information, then please let us know. That would be very useful. Most of the questions actually seem to be about the 80%.
Yes, there's a couple here just come in. If pension payments are still payable, is tax and NIC still payable each month? Yes, as far as I'm aware, you're paying wages, you're paying your tax and NICs because you're deducting it from your employees. You're claiming back 80% of the gross. Therefore, the answer to that, I think, is yes, you have still got to pay your tax and NIC as normal. Do we still pay PAY and NIC when staff are furloughed? Yes, I don't think there's any changes to this because you are keeping them on the payroll. As I understand it, not much has changed. You're just claiming 80% of furloughed staff back.
But you pay back the national insurance, is that right? You defer that? You can defer the national insurance?
I'd need to look into that one, Gary.
I thought that was one of the first things they suggested, that they would hold that, but yeah, if we can check on that.
I'll go back and check on that. How long can you furlough people for? At the moment, I think the government's looking at 3 months. They haven't gone beyond 3 months. So I think we're looking at a 3-month period there.
Chaipan's office would like to answer this question live.
Yeah.
I've got something here from a lady called Anne. Office would like to answer this question live. Can you ring the office and tell us who you are and what we can do? Thank you. You need to. Yeah, I see you've got Zoe on the phone online here. She's been asking the question again. It's about the 80%. Justifying it if you're a sole director, it is going to be difficult. The other thing is that if you've been paying yourself the minimum wage and taking a huge dividend, the dividend can't be calculated in, as far as I'm aware. So the government might use this as an excuse to take into the net all those people that have been trying to use the system to their advantage for some time. And I can see it. I can see the world being slightly different when we come out of this.
Yes, Gary, sorry, I think this has a knock-on effect to the off-payroll working rules, which has been deferred, but there are no changes to the off-payroll working rules for small and medium enterprises. So anything that's, if you are if you are a personal services company, you still have to follow the rules there, and the taking of salaries versus dividends is is quite a difficult one these days. They've closed a lot of loopholes on that, so you do need to be careful. But I haven't seen anything that you can claim anything on dividends.
No, that's the information we got. And but aside from this, the IR35 changes have been moved back a little bit, haven't they?
To April.
So a number of your recent articles have been updated almost before they got onto the web.
Yeah, I think they're still going to happen. But the only changes to IR35 are for medium and large companies who have got to now look at their subcontractors. Everything else to do with small and medium enterprises, small and micros, and the self-employed still is still exactly the same. That's not going to change. You still have to look at your contracts that you have with clients and decide whether or not you should be employed by these people and take the decision. So.
Yeah, I think because the legislation was going to be for medium-sized companies and above, and it was therefore very much more likely to be involved with our clients rather than our members, our members' clients. We are talking to government, have been for a little while about this, because it makes a nonsense of the fact that a person working by themselves but with 15 clients has got to be employed by 15 employers. And I think governments see this. But they've been concentrating on hitting the big market first, you know, the sort of the low-hanging fruit, as I think they call it, and trying to get after those people that are earning quite a lot of money, but doing it through some form of personal services company and supplying just one company. So we're trying to stop the sledgehammer hitting the walnut on this occasion. And the fact that it was deferred for anything other than medium and above, I think it's a good start. I have every hope that we'll be able to do something with it. Now, we have been approached by a number of organizations called umbrella companies, which is where you become an employee of an umbrella company to avoid this. This is mainly for contracts, but I know for contractors who are doing, say, 12-month contracts, 6-month contracts. But I think as far as bookkeepers are concerned at the moment, it doesn't affect you unless you've got a turnover of, 250,000 or above. So stay well away from anything like that. And just on a general point, I would say that whenever something like this happens, you get the get-rich-quick guys coming out of the woodwork. So be very careful that you don't sign up to things unnecessarily. I don't think they can give you any more advice than we're giving you. Or that you can get from other sources free of charge. And we are trying to put it onto the hub so that at least it's all in one basket and you can look at it. The stories of people trying door to door to sell kits to see if you've got the COVID-19 bug, which actually were rubbish. It was, whatever they call it, one of those tab things and nothing else, to lots of people at the moment offering online advice helplines. I mean, anything from £50 to £500 a month or something or other. If we're not giving you what you want, please tell us and we'll do our best to add to what we're giving you. But we don't charge for it. It's there because this is part of our service. By all means, if you need more that we're not giving you and you don't think we're able to give you, then you could take other people's advice. But just don't jump. Because at the moment, everybody is in a difficult situation. We're all battling with this. And at the moment, you don't want to be paying out from reduced funds for something which is only going to tell you what you know anyway. So please bear that in mind. It happened with RTI. It happened with pensions. It happened with the Millennium Bug and everything else. And so the COVID bug is just the latest of many. But anyway, right.
A couple of questions, Garry.
There?
Can I just deal with a couple of questions that have come in? Quick ones.
Absolutely.
From Lee, I think. Does anyone know how the self-employed can claim SSP for 14 days? The answer is you don't claim SSP, you claim universal credit. And good luck with that one. Or we have the employment and support allowance, which is available to self-employed, and you may be able to claim either or both of those. And there was another one I saw. Does the deferment of the second payment on account for tax also apply to directors? The self-assessment payment is for your personal tax. It's nothing to do, I think, with your, so much as the director of the limited company. If you have a payment on account on your personal tax account, that's the one that's been deferred. So I think the answer to that is probably yes. There is one here about the lower earnings limit for claiming this. There was a comment from the Chancellor that the lower thresholds for credits have been abolished. So I think if you're below the threshold, you may now be able to apply. Oh, and somebody's put a link up there to the universal credit. Thank you for that, Lisa. Lisa's put a link up to the universal credit guidance there, so that's a useful one. I'm sorry, Gary. I'll read the rest now and see what else there is.
No, you carry on. I'm reading the same set of questions as you. I mean, we've got a healthy number of questions here, although most of them I think we're answering because they do seem to be.
There is one here from Sean. Help clients by doing self-assessments as soon as possible so they know what they will owe in January rather than it being a payment on account. Don't forget the payment on account is the second half of the payment on account that you would have made back in January towards this year's tax. So yes, I agree. If you do your self-assessment returns for your clients early and you know exactly what's going to be due, then you can work out what their final payment's going to be in January. Self-isolating an SSP, the reclaim of SSP from employers is, I think, is only for 14 days. After that, if you're paying SSP, you can't claim it back. It's only for the first 14 days. Dividend tax, where dividend tax is available, haven't seen anything on that because that's, I think as Gary mentioned, people taking dividends. And there's quite a lot there.
No,
on VAT payments.
The dividends are.
I need to do some research on the VAT payments that are due on VAT returns before the end of March.
Okay. The dividends that I was talking about was where people have been taking dividends regularly. They can't use that in order to calculate the 80% if they are furloughed. So I think that's pretty standard. As far as any payments that are due, I mean, I wouldn't part with any money at the moment because it would appear that the government is holding on and not requiring too much to be paid.
There is a question here. I have filled out a CIS form. Do clients need to pay CIS due to HMRC? My gut reaction to that is, although I haven't seen anything, I would say yes, because PAYE and NICs are still being paid. And the CIS deductions that you made is not your money, it's your subcontractor's money, and you're paying it towards their tax bill at the end of the year. You've deducted it from their invoices, therefore you've got to send it on to HMRC. I think that's as I would understand it, because it's not right for you not to pay over CIS amounts due to HMRC from subcontractors.
Jackie, have you heard anything from the pensions regulator? Because I've just had an email, so I don't know if you got it about a couple of hours ago, just talking about it doesn't talk about whether or not you're going to be let off the payments, but it talks more about people who are leaving now. You've got to go ahead and pay their pensions in a normal manner.
The one that I've seen, unless I've got something else, was a lot to do with the actual pensions companies themselves. A lot of information came out from the pensions regulator this morning on that.
Yeah.
But basically the only thing that I think was there for payroll is that you still have to complete your duty. So you would have to deduct your pension contributions and pass them on to the pensions company. I haven't seen anything on pensions that that's going to change that.
Yeah, there are a couple of departments that are keeping their head down at the moment, I have to say. Let's have a look at the later.
Notes coming up from people. Thank you for all of those that are coming back with the information that you found. It's very helpful. Weekly payments for furloughed staff. HMRC support paper says that thanks Paul, that businesses will not need to make a VAT payment during this period, and the period is detailed as 20th of March to 30th of June. So that looks as though that's So the February VAT payment would probably fall outside that. So you're possibly all right on that one. I need to think the dates through.
Yeah, a couple of people saying that it mentioned the April quarter, but not the February. So that might be an oversight by government. I don't know. I don't know when they started making their statements. It could be that they think that one should have been done before they got this far, but I don't know. We'll follow that up for everybody.
There's another one here on self-isolation. Employee on sick for the 14 days under self-isolation but has shown no symptoms. So would, under normal circumstances, return to work? Can they be furloughed? I think the answer to all of these is, if you are using the furlough rather than to lay staff off, and you're doing it through whatever legal processes you have to do, I don't see why you can't put them on furlough, but that means that your workers are not working. I've not seen anything that says if they come back from self-isolation, you have to give them work to do. If you've got work, they continue working. But I think this is aimed at those smaller micro businesses who cannot afford to keep the staff on. And I think the background to this was mainly for the hospitality industry, where businesses, all those businesses have now closed down anyway, and the staff are being laid off. It's to keep them on, to keep their jobs.
That's different. 20.
Okay, what was that? Sorry. Yeah, I think a number of people are asking about their license fees for software. I think we should be getting answers from the main software companies over the next day or so, and as soon as we have that, I will let you know. I think at the moment they're carrying on as per normal, but this isn't normal at the moment, so they may have to do some form of deferment. I don't know, but we will let you know as soon as we have an answer from each individual organisation, see what they're doing.
There are quite a few questions coming in about statutory maternity pay and staff returning back from from maternity leave. That one I'm going to have to look at and get back to you, I think, because as we all know, people on maternity leave and pay have a very specific set of criteria as to what you can and can't do with them. So I think we're going to take some more information on that and get back to you on anything to do with statutory maternity. Garry, is that okay?
Yeah, no, that's fine. And also, while you're at that, if somebody has announced that they are pregnant, I know obviously their employment is quite heavily protected once they are pregnant. Can they be furloughed? So that's another one. If we can get that information overnight, so we're ready to give that.
All vulnerable categories. So I think it's more. I think there is a special case for those who are pregnant, but also anyone in the vulnerable category. Are they classed for SSP or can they be furloughed? That's come up on a number of places, and I would guess that the answer to that is, would you have work for them, or are you closing down and not offering them work anyway?
Yeah, I think we've got to be careful of that one. And the other one is, if people are isolated for 12 weeks because they fit into the various categories, what happens with them? I think we've got a lot of answers, but I think every single answer seems to prompt another 2 or 3 questions, and whether or not the government hasn't quite thought about it yet or hasn't released it. Now we've had this first online meeting, I think we'll go away and really knuckle down and try and find the answers to all these things, because it might be that nobody really knows yet, but at least if that is the case, we can give you a sort of a holding pattern, as it were, and really work that one back from there. So
there's another question about the payment for the February VAT quarter, which is due on the 7th of April. The information that's been coming through from those of you that have been looking into this already is that the payments from the 20th of March, so it may be that it doesn't have to be paid, but again, that one will come back to you on. And the rest of it about later quarters, nothing has been announced past 3 months. So later quarters late.
And can I just say to Catherine Colton, yes, we will get back to you. I don't think Julia quite answered the question, but I will find out. And that is, do we have to continue to pay for Sage Drive, etc. And yeah, that's one, as I think I said before. I'm trying to talk to as many people as I can. Software companies, like everybody else, are running around a bit like mad things at the moment, and so I'll come back to you personally, and also we'll come back to you as a group.
Okay, someone's come back to say my comment on the direct debits, advising to cancel because they're easy to set up again. And there's one there, Gary, I don't know if you've seen that one. What do you say to a client who says they can't now afford your fees?
Well, I think this is one of those things that is going to happen. You know their books, you know what state their business is in, and it may well be true that they can't. I think we have to talk to them in very much the way the government is talking to people who are in work and saying, well, you know, you're still going to need my services. How do we work our way through this? And you have a genuine conversation with them, because if you stop working for them and they don't pay you, neither of you is going to be happy. Is there a way around it? Now, you might not be in a position to take a deferred payment. You might not want to risk taking a deferred payment. Is there something else that you can do to help them get through the cash flow problems? I mean, they'll have bills outstanding. Are there some bills in there that perhaps you need to say to them, well, look, you're not paying your rent and rates anymore, perhaps, or you're not paying your staff anymore, or you're paying them a reduced amount. You're going to need, particularly if you're doing payroll for people, you know, this is going to be critical at the moment, particularly if they're claiming back this 80% or whatever. One of the queries, I can't remember if I mentioned it earlier or whether it was somebody I was talking to earlier on today, but the client rang up and said, what is my rateable value? Is it less than 51,000? And they had got absolutely no idea at all. And the bookkeeper, however, had got sight of the original documentation, obviously, and said that, yes, you're fine. The bookkeeper, therefore, in that one bit of information, had saved this person, you know, £20,000-30,000 worth of rates or something or other. So I think, as always, as bookkeepers, it's about proving your worth. That's no consolation if you've got somebody that's completely lost their business, taxi driver, you know, something like that, and suddenly nobody's going in the cab, all that sort of thing. And I think we just have to be open and honest with our clients and just try to work our way through it. If it's a lost cause, I'm afraid it's a lost cause. Concentrate on the ones that are not lost causes, because they're going to need extra help, and try and build something up that way. Just protect as much as you can. None of us have worked with anything like this really in our lifetime. And the only thing that I've got to compare this with was the old 3-day week when I was a young, early 20s or something or other, working in retail. And, you know, we had to find ways of getting around no light, no heating, shortage of foods, etc. And, you know, we hung on to clients for grim death, and they hung on to us for grim death. But eventually it was something we all talked about later, but we managed to keep, I would say, 80 and 90% of our clients by just being open, honest, and there for them. You know, they're nervous, they're worried. You know, I've been through a number of redundancies over my years, and yeah, that sinking feeling when you can't pay the mortgage or your credit card bounces as you're going into Tesco. It happens. We've all had it, unfortunately. And sorry,
other supermarkets are available. Yeah,
other supermarkets are available. I'm reminded by Jim. You know, and yeah. I can't give you an ironclad answer as how to get around that one, other than just communicate. You know, that's what it's all about. And yeah, if you want to organise a webinar from your members, you don't know how to organise a Zoom meeting, call the offices, speak to Sobi or Agatha, and they'll tell you how to do it. It's dead simple. And, you know, you can become a television personality. Jackie.
Yeah, I was just going to say, thank you, Kath, for your comment, if everyone has read it, about the VAT payments for the February VAT return, that an accountant is recommending and saying that the February, March and April VAT returns will not need to be paid, but will obviously need to be submitted. There was one came in as a question about, will HMRC be dropping the penalty charge if you can't submit your CIS return by the 19th? Well, I think the answer to that is probably no. We haven't heard anything yet. They're not cancelling penalty charges because the returns still have to be done. So
Absolutely.
I think you're still going to have to submit all your returns, PAYE, through RTI, CIS returns. At the moment, it's only the payments that have been deferred to save funds.
I think this has always been the case, Jackie. I mean, many years, we've been telling people on Inspire Tours and everything else that getting the return in, but not paying the money is one thing, but not getting the return in, and then the next thing you know, you get an estimated return, and you have to pay that and worry about getting it down to the correct figure later. We've all done silly things like that, and I would advise anybody, if a return is due, get it in. And again, going back to the previous question, I think then it's a way of saying to your clients, look, I have to get the returns in. You need to get this in. Let's work on this. Let's get it done. And we'll sort this through. We all hope that this is going to be finished in 3 months. I know that's a long time. And I'm isolated at this moment in time because I'm old and frail and all the rest of it. Whatever. No. So consequently, I think that we can't really see where we're going at the moment. We've been in this for a week or two. It's going to last for 3 months. A lot of you now have got your kids at home until the end of the summer, which I know is going to drive some of you stir crazy. You've got a lot to cope with. I'm hoping that by having some social interaction, it'll at least keep you sane and give you somebody else to bounce your concerns off, but give you somebody to talk to. And it's one of those things. We don't know how this is going to pan out. We just have our fingers crossed that the moves that are being taken at the moment are going to eventually draw this to a close, and then everything really is going to go back to near as normality as it was before we got into this. There's no way around it. You're still going to need to do. People are still going to need to do their books, and I think a lot of people who are sitting at home trying to do this by themselves on their own software are really going to get in a mess, and we're going to have a few more people perhaps to try and sort it out. So, yeah. And
I'm jealous of the person who had the lemon drizzle cake at the start of the meeting, because I can't get any for love nor money here.
All right.
Very light-hearted note. Or the Cadbury's whole nut. Sorry, that's been very flippant.
Well, I got a homemade apple crumble last night, and I can assure you I haven't had one of those for a long time. But anyway, I mean, if any of you listening do feel that, the world is crashing down around your ears, please ring up and talk to our staff. I mean, some of them are a bit too young to know what's going on in the world yet anyway, but, get through to one of us oldies that we'll have a chat with you, we'll have a talk with you, we'll do what we can. We've got to come out of this as friends and working colleagues at the end of it. So
someone's offered to sell me a bar of whole nut for £50.
All right. Okay.
Any further bits?
Thank you, Jill.
I've been trying to get a little thing that's gone up on Facebook. I don't know how to get it onto here. I'll talk to Zoe, but it's fantastic. There's a picture of a man, and he's been questioned by somebody who's off screen, and he said, right, given that you have got to self-isolate, I have two options. A, would you like to be at home with your wife and children, or B? And he immediately butts in and says B. I can't get it on the screen, unfortunately. I'll try and put it out on a tweet or something, because he is so stone-faced when he says it. It's just unbelievable. But some of us are used to working with our other halves. Some of us are not. So anyway.
And thank you for the recipe. I do have one actually, but thank you for the offer. Okay.
So where are we? It's.
I have a lot of questions that I need to try and find the answers to, which I will try and come back.
Okay. Do you think that we're going to have some of these questions to do this again tomorrow? Are you going to be able to help us out and give some more?
I'm around. I'm not going anywhere. We're self-isolated because we're in the age bracket. But we
Right.
don't go out anywhere. So I'm here.
All right.
I'm also here for
Okay.
queries as well. If anybody's wants to chat things through, as Gary said, I'm one of those that's been there, done it, worn the t-shirt. So if anybody needs to chat, I'm around.
And you're a technical advisor anyway. So again, if somebody wants technical advice, it'll go through to you or one of our others. And you're enough. There is enough distance between you and most people where you're sitting at the moment, at the end of the garden now, I can see.
Yeah,
So I think we are more or less coming to the end of our big influx of questions. I'm just trying to get the number. I think we've had over 80 questions in. Most of them I think we've managed to answer, or at least say that we're looking for some answer to this. We will get back to you. We will send you a link for the next meeting. If we can get enough for you for it to be worth meeting tomorrow, or if you tell us following this that you really just want to keep this on as a daily basis, very happy to do it. If not, perhaps Wednesday. Wednesday certainly was already booked as a day to have. Please let us know what you think. And I'm sorry we can't give you all of the answers at the moment. We will endeavour to get you as many as we can. And I'm sorry I can't give you easy answers as to how to hang on to clients and how to get through this. But hopefully listening to other people talking and getting some of these things aired across here has helped you. So, Jackie, thank you very much. Julia,
okay, sorry, just one last quick one coming.
Right.
Can we send the link as to where HMRC states about the 80% being based on February's wages? I will need to look at it. I think those links we will put up on our COVID-19 page, Gary.
Yes, I have a feeling it's there, but it might well be worth.
I'll check it with Amy.
Yeah, and I think what we'll do, we'll answer some of these questions anyway now, and put some of the questions up onto the hub. It's a moving feast, as you know. Yeah. So thank you all very much for joining. We've had over 400 of you on at different times, so it's obviously important. We're really, really pleased to get this opportunity to talk to you. We're doing our best to be there for you. We're doing our best to keep ICB open and running so that you've got an avenue for your concerns and your questions. And let's hope we can get through this. So please just look after yourself. Don't go to any discos. Don't go to any pubs tonight. Let's get that out of the way. Stay out of everybody else's way. If we can stop this bug spreading, hopefully we'll get through it quicker. And the main thing is that we want you all to be happy, healthy, and with us in another 3 months' time when we come out and we have to fight off the clients who are just bursting to get you back onto their books and new ones that are looking for you too. So bye everybody, and thank you to Sophie, Agatha and the team, Amy and everybody that's been helping with this, and we'll see you shortly. So stay safe everybody.
Yeah,
bye.
Stay safe. Bye all.